Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to another Archetype guide for Arkham Horror the card game. Today we're going to be talking about the Guardian Spirit archetype. I normally ask the other guys what this archetype does, but I'm going to try to explain it myself. Spirit is one of the traits that are on the cards in this game. I believe only events have the Spirit trait or type right now. And the goal of this archetype is to take advantage of these Spirit cards, primarily through the use of the asset Boxing Gloves. It provides a lot of... You know what? We'll get to the next page, which has Boxing Gloves, and the card will say what it does. So Travis, I'll pass these first four cards to you for this one.
Okay. We got Nathaniel Cho. He doesn't say anything about spirits on him. He is the investigator that you're technically supposed to build them with. His investigator deck has a lot of the spirit cards in them and a lot of the support for them, especially the boxing gloves, which you can see right next to it. His ability where whenever one of his events deals damage, you get to deal one additional damage. Synergizes quite well is a common theme with a lot of the spirit events. His boxing gloves, two versions, the level 0 and the level 3. Level 0, it costs 3 to play. You get +1 when you're fighting, takes up both your hand slots, and after you defeat an enemy, you can exhaust it. Search the top 6 cards of your deck for a spirit event and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. The level 3 version commits for 2 punch symbols instead of the 1, costs 1 less resource to play, gives you +2 punch while fighting instead of +1, and instead of looking at the top 6, you can look at the top 9, which is a notable increase. This card is very important to keeping the spirit deck running, as if you're playing events to do things, you will eventually run out of cards, and this allows you to basically be card neutral on one event per turn, assuming you kill an enemy.
It's especially great too with scenarios where there's one health enemies, like using just fighting and killing a cultist or a rat and then getting a card out of it is really nice.
This is true. The last one on this page is Let Me Handle This, which is really just a great card and has nothing to do with the fact that it is a spirit. But it is spirit, so it's here. Costs 0 to play, commits for a brain, a punch. You play it after another investigator draws a non-peril encounter card, but before resolving that card's effects, and basically you get to draw it instead, and you get +2 to each of your skills while resolving the card's revelation effect. Really just a fantastic card, where even if you can absorb things that might be crippling to other players, or you can draw enemies instead of them. Which obviously if you're playing this archetype, you're the one who's here to fight enemies. And also you can just get +2 to a test with it. If they have 3 brain and they have to make a brain test, you're like, yeah, I'll just do it at 5 because it's better.
Sick. Brandon, why don't you take these guys?
Alright, so we've got Glory, which is a 1-cost event. Commits for 2 book icons, and fast play after you defeat an enemy. Draw 2 cards. It's just another way for, if you're playing an event-heavy deck, you need to keep your hand full of stuff. The fact that it happens to be a spirit, just gravy. We got Lesson Learned, which is a 1-costed event, commits for a brain, 2 book. It is an insight and a spirit. Fast play after you take damage from an enemy attack. Discover 2 clues at your location. Testless clues.
This makes me kind of excited. I'm excited for the masochist build, where you just take damage and get things from it while it grows and grows. That would be fun.
Yes, sir. We've got Counterpunch, which is a 0-cost event, commits for a punch and a foot. It is a spirit and a tactic. It's fast play after an enemy attacks you, even if that attack was cancelled. Fight. This attack targets the attacking enemy. So, it doesn't do bonus damage unless your name is exactly Nathaniel Cho, which is kind of why he's good at this. We've got the upgraded one, which is 0-cost, commits for 2 punch and a foot instead. It is fast. You play it before when an enemy attacks you before that, at resolving the attack, you fight, you get +2 punch, and deal +1 damage. It's kind of just better in every possible way.
Sick. As well as, if you look at the tags for once in this going through the traits, there is the spirit trait on all of these. So boxing gloves finds all of them. That's kind of the connecting string for this archetype. It's pretty simple to say, but yeah, all spirit cards are probably going to be good in your spirit archetype deck. I've had worse. Level 4. Comes for 2 brains and a foot. Fast, play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 5 damage and or horror just dealt to you, then gain that many resources. This sounds pretty sweet, but that's a lot of damage to take at one time. However, the level 2 version commits for a brain and a book, and play when you are dealt damage and or horror. Cancel up to 2 damage and or horror just dealt to you, and then gain that many resources. This is very reliable and very awesome and very strong in the fact that it's a spirit and you can find it with your boxing gloves after killing someone to give yourself a little bit of a padding for the damage you might take. It's a very nice choice for this archetype. We got 1-2 punch, both the upgraded and the level 0 and the level 5 version. The level 0 is fight. You get +1 fist for this attack. If you succeed, you may fight that enemy again. You get +2 fist and deal +1 damage for that attack. There's just a lot of damage output from one card. Of course, Nathaniel Cho can do this, gets more out of this card, but this kind of is just like, 2 attacks for 1 action, and it's a total of 3 damage. That gets over something that we often call the Asphalov hump, where enemies with 2 health are usually killed by 2 damage weapons, but enemies at 3 health require 2 actions. This is 1 card that's a spirit card, so you can get it with your boxing gloves, and it's 1 action, assuming you pass the tests, which you should, because with your boxing gloves you get +2 and then +3 for the level 0 ones. The upgraded version is pretty spicy. It's 5 experience, so it's a costly boy. Commits for 4 fists, if you really need them. However, fight, you automatically succeed and deal +1 damage with this attack, so automatically 2 damage. You may fight again, and you get +3 fist, and deal +2 damage for that attack. So this card represents 5 damage, 2 of which is guaranteed. That's very powerful. That's why it costs 5 experience. And being able to just grab this with your boxing gloves when you need it is very nice. Travis, I'll pass these ones back to you.
Okay, these are really just 2 cards. Got 2 versions of Mano a Mano. Both of these are experienced. There is no level 0 version of this card. They both cost 0 to play. Both you can only play as your first action, and the only difference between the 2 of them is the level 1/1 deals 1 damage to an enemy engaged with you, and the level 2/1 deals 2 damage to an enemy engaged with you. The action does not provoke attacks opportunity on either of them. Just a solid card, obviously great Nathaniel Cho, but all in all, just a pretty good card for dealing with enemies.
It's this, there's
Tesla's
a thing
damage
with
is good.
There's a thing with Mano a Mano where you take an enemy with some attacks down so they have 1 health remaining, get punched by them, use your lesson learned to gain 2 clues from your location, and then just finish the guy off without a test with Mano a Mano at the start of your next turn. That's a line that would be very easy for you to follow through with, assuming you have a 3 health enemy or an enemy that you can bring down to 1 health and then take advantage of this. I think, I don't remember lesson learned, I've never played with it. If you need to take damage from it,
no, I'm pretty sure I think you can dodge the attack and then play it.
Yeah, or cancel it. I can't go on the record for that one. Sorry, Travis, I'll pass back to you.
It's no problem. We have 2 different kinds that stand together next. One's level 0 and one's level 3. The level 0 one commits for a brain, and you choose another investigator location, and both of you gain 2 resources. Then the level for 3 experience, you get a second brain icon, and you and the chosen investigator also draw 2 cards in addition to the resources. Really just a great economy card. They're a little bit hard to come by in Guardian, but it's worth checking out if you're looking for more money in cards.
Yeah. All right. Synergies. The Spirit archetype kind of has a weird thing where it's very kind of its own thing. However, both Mystic and Survivor have Spirit cards that you're able to take advantage of. Unfortunately, Nathaniel Cho cannot take advantage of them. because he can only build with Guardian cards. But as this class further evolves and more investigators can see use from the boxing gloves, there will be more success with this archetype and this synergy with the other ones. Otherwise, like this archetype just fights pretty well. So like, it's not really more about synergy because it's kind of just focusing on itself, right? Like it uses its resources to produce more resources so you don't fall behind. And then when you have the moment where you can just kill an enemy without spending a resource, you're going to be gaining cards because of it. So there's that. Now,
yep, I think this one does also have some synergy with the big guns archetype, where sometimes you get like not a rat, because rats are very easy to deal with if you're going to fight anything, but like a lower tier enemy and you don't want to spend a bullet killing it, you can spend your events to kill it instead.
And if you're feeling particularly freaky, this is not recommended, but you can always grab a bandolier and get big guns and boxing gloves, and then just have this weird nightmare deck that doesn't really do either archetype well, but you could.
Could be done.
Travis, this, everyone at home, I want you to guess who this deck is going to be about. You probably guessed wrong. Travis, I'll pass this to you.
Yeah, this is a Tommy Muldoon deck. So the reason I decided to do Tommy Muldoon instead of Nathaniel Cho is because
open up the starter deck.
Every spirit deck is Nathaniel Cho. And if I want to talk about upgrading Nathaniel Cho deck, we already have a video for that. So, and I looked at which spirit events weren't in blue, and I thought the red ones were the best. And then I was like, yeah, Tommy Muldoon probably plays these pretty good. So, Tommy wears boxing gloves. He punches people and plays like sort of like a supporty off fighter build here. We have don't have too much for Soak to make use of his ability, but we do still have the Beat Cops, Tetsuo Mori, of course, to help us find the boxing gloves, and 3 copies of Spiritual Resolve because they recycle real nicely and can tank a ton of damage. The boxing gloves let him punch at like a reasonable 6. Ace of Swords bumps up to 7, which is pretty comfortable for standard difficulty at least. And then our suite of spirit events here we have. We got the level 5 1-2 punch because it's sick.
It is sick.
We got the 2 level 2 mono monos because you're here to do damage. Glory to keep the cards coming. Counter punch, just again a nice damage use, or a nice way to get extra damage on guys, especially when you can just swoop in and take, like you want to be taking damage anyway. You're Tommy Muldoon. And then to let me handle this, again, same thing I talked about earlier in the video why this card's good.
Yeah.
And then the red spirits we have here are Live and Learn, which is pretty nice with the events like Counter Punch and the second half of like 1-2 punch, where you might you hit an auto fail and you don't want to. So
fix it, right?
It makes sure that your high value events like hit more consistently, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we got 2 copies of Test of Will because Tommy has like a reasonable-ish 3 brain. And if I can get this, like you get to cancel it either way, and then you only exile it if you fail. So like with the 2 copies of Guts and the 2 copies of Take the Initiative, you could also pitch extra copies of like Spiritual Resolve if you're really desperate to keep it in your deck, to just try and keep it around. But they're just 2 extra cards you can get off your boxing gloves, and I thought that was neat.
Yeah, and
there's
also
2 prepared for the worst, of course, because we desperately need those boxing gloves.
Yeah, and like also those Test of Wills, just even like in the last 2 campaigns, will be like, scenarios. You'll be like, I'll just don't want to draw this Ancient Evils, right? Like, and now it's gone, and that's okay. This deck also has like a sick thing where like if you have Becky in your opening hands, you play her, shoot for a bit, and then when you find your boxing gloves, the cultist's gonna watch you throw Becky to the ground and just put on boxing gloves and be like, oh, now it's time. I'm gonna
it's
pop
on,
off.
Baby.
And I think that's fun. Of course, if you're wondering, you can't actually have... There's no way to play both Becky and Boxing Gloves in play, and with this deck, your priority would be Boxing Gloves because of the amount of spirit events it's going to put into your hand, which is the goal of this archetype. Honestly, the idea of this support fighter, Tommy Muldoon, I love it, and I think it would be fun to play. And also just because, like, anytime you can see Boxing Gloves that's not a Nathaniel Cho, it's a little bit exciting. So I'm glad this wasn't a Nathaniel Cho deck, and I understand why you didn't make a Nathaniel Cho deck. Because it just makes itself. It really does.
My guess was Calvin, because he's also a Weirdsmobile one.
He is.
And I figured for sure we're not actually playing Nathaniel Cho.
Yeah. If you're interested in this archetype and you haven't picked up the Nathaniel Cho starter deck, buy that deck and you can play this archetype. It's that easy. Anyone can do it.
It's got most of the cards.
Yeah. All right. Let us know what other archetype guides you want to see on our channel. We're on another cycle, so we're going to have Seeker, Mystic, Rogue, and then Survivor. And I know that's not the order that they are in the game by ID number, but I don't care. That's just the order that I randomly drew them in. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next week. And as always, GG's.